Good morning, traders. Welcome to today's market review. This is Fred Razak at CMTrading. Today is June 20th, 2018, and today is Wednesday morning. So looking at the economic events of the day, lots of speaking today. Okay, starting at 3:30 South African time, Australia, the Euro, Bank of Japan, and US dollar. All the major central banks of all these countries will be speaking, and their representatives, the head representatives, will be speaking. So that's Governor Lowe, that's Draghi, Kuroda-san, and Powell will be speaking. Okay, so that's a major event. So we should see some market activity during that time. And then later today at 4:30 South Africa time, weekly oil inventories numbers coming out. Now, there's been a lot of activity in the rotation of the Forex symbols, and let's take a look. So as we discussed yesterday, the Euro USD looked like it was going to trade between 1691-ish level and perhaps around this 15 level. And, our bounce just faltered yesterday, and we're back down to almost our lows at 1576. Okay. Now, what's been driving this further down, and this is what I said earlier in the week, you got to look for the leader against the US dollar. And sure enough, the GBP USD did not surprise when it broke this level, 132-ish level. We were discussing this yesterday, that was just flirting with support level here, and sure enough, we broke even further down. And we said where the Euro USD had somewhat of a bounce, the GBP versus the USD did not. And sure enough, it broke this support level. If we look at a daily chart, really the next level down is 130. Okay, now this is a massive retracement for the GBP versus the dollar as this has been unfolding throughout the week. Okay, now I'm not sure if we're going to continue just faltering further down or just sliding down, in short spurts, but this is definitely the trend that we're on, continuing this downward cycle. Okay, so altogether, the dollar getting stronger versus, two of the major pairs in the world, and that we need to continue following. Looking at the USD Swiss franc, yesterday we kind of bounced right off of this support level, somewhat of a moving average support level. Okay, as you can see here, we're just trading within a tight range. But what was nice about this is that it did hold this trend line, and now it's really just flirting with it. Okay, could be potentially that it's still a resistance line as we continue trading this, or we may just find ourselves in a new trading range and just have to take that as it comes. You're looking at the USD ZAR. Yesterday the dollar got a little bit weaker versus the ZAR. If we look in a 4-hour chart, just sold off a little bit from 1389. But as you can see, we're in a tear here. Okay, the dollar getting much stronger versus the rand. And we mentioned this yesterday, that there was a little bit of a capitulation right here at 1382. Now the real resistance level, on the upper limit is 1442-ish level. Okay, but just be aware that we may find ourselves like the rest of the currency pairs versus the dollar, just trading within a range. So let's keep that in mind. Now looking at the Aussie US dollar, we did capitulate yesterday to 73, okay? And then finally we kind of bounced off of it, and we're bouncing off of it this morning at 74. Now support becomes resistance, right? So at 74.26, that's my really next resistance-ish level. Okay, somewhere between 74.26-ish level and 74.52-ish level, and I would expect to have some sort of resistance. When we look at a weekly chart, you'll see what I mean is that, we've been hovering around this area several times. Okay, so it is somewhat of an important area to be in. Now, if we continue to sell off, sure enough, we could get back to the 71-ish level. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think we're going to be just trading between the 74-ish level and 75.90-ish level. Okay, just between these two levels for now. Looking at the USD CAD, we broke this 130 earlier in this week, and this is another one that's getting much weaker versus the dollar. Now, this is also on the back of what we discussed last week, some of the geopolitical issues from the G7 summit, and these things are going to manifests itself in different areas, meaning the tariffs that are going to be imposed on the Canadian goods that are going to be imported to the United States. It's going to affect the value of the Canadian dollar for sure. Okay, the dollar, Prime Minister Trudeau actually, came back at President Trump, and he said, we're going to apply tariffs to your goods. But let's be honest, between the two countries, who's going to win? The United States, much bigger economy, much stronger economy, much more goods that they could, offer Canadians. So, it's not a pretty sight, but it is, just a sign of the times of things shifting in the market. Okay, so continuing in the US dollar Turkish lira, as you can see, we're at the top of the range. We kind of, faltered here, just really trading in a tight range. And I expect this to continue throughout the week until we get to the elections. And then let's see how we're going to, respond right afterwards. Looking at gold. Gold broke down further yesterday from 80-ish, 81-ish level, down to the 1270-ish level. Okay, now that is support area. As you can see, we bounced off of it, but I'm not sure that we're bouncing off of it with some conviction. Okay, if we do break this 1270, again, we could further decline to the 1230-ish level, 1239-ish level. Okay, so just keep that on your radar today. Now, we discussed that we have weekly oil inventories coming out. We've been trading between these two ranges, 66-ish, 67-ish level on the top side and 64.5 on the bottom side. Okay, and I don't expect us to break out of that, but let's keep a sharp eye on this oil inventories, because if they're increasing, the inventories, prices are going to continue declining. Okay, so that's really an important element, an important date to keep an eye on that. Now, looking at the Dow Jones, we finally bounced yesterday after this massive slide, and sure enough, we bounced right about our support level, 24,670. We breached it a little bit, but we bounced right off of it. This morning, we're a little bit above 24,840-ish. Okay, and if this does continue, then we're just going to continue just trading between these two ranges. I'd like to see some follow through here. 25,000 is really the resistance level here, and we're right between these two levels. So keep an eye on that later today. Now, looking at the DAX also, yesterday we gapped down, we further gapped down. Okay, we were hovering right around this support level, and then we bounced right off of it. Beautiful trade if you were able to catch it yesterday, because you saw that it didn't break down further. Okay, it kind of just traded within an area near the support level and didn't break it. Okay, now I would expect maybe a closing of this gap as this continues to trade sideways. Okay, and taking in all the information from, a couple of weeks ago to last week, the FOMC rate decision, the ECB rate decision. So these things still have, the ripple effects are still yet to be seen. So keep an eye on that later today. Now, looking at the major stocks in the United States, they also corrected and finally sold off a little bit. Facebook did not break this 2,000, but not breaking further down. Okay, it's trading at 197. If the market does shift upwards, then I do expect Facebook to break out on the high side. So, it's really just flirting with all-time highs, and this $200 a share is really very much a tease for it to break above. Okay, $200 for the price of Facebook is really a psychological number, and I think that if we do break it, then it could go up to 230, but got to keep a sharp eye on it. So lots happening, still things that need to, show themselves before you jump in, but again, the opportunities are there. This is Fred Razak. I want to wish you guys a great trading day. Thank you.